Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Nvidia daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Nvidia stock. Let's go over what is happening to the stock, what we can expect moving into potentially a big next week for just tech in general. A lot of tech reporting, including AMD, which of course, Nvidia can move for better or for worse, really, off of a sympathy play. And I'll give you my thoughts moving forward. So yeah, with all that being said and done, if you enjoy, please don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy my analysis and whatnot, I do have a membership section on YouTube. That link is down below for just $3 a month. You get access to all my thoughts, posts, updates, etc. Every single day the market is open on Tesla mainly. But I've been sharing quite a lot of other like bonus chart updates like AMD, Disney, Google. So definitely check it out. Just $3 a month. Again, that's all it is. Or for $5, you get access to all of that, but you also get access to Nvidia specifically on top of it if you're interested. But let's just jump into it. Nvidia closing the day up actually 0.8% on the day, which compared to the market is maybe a slight outperformance, but we'll just say roughly in line because SPY is red, but QQQ is green. So we'll just say in line roughly with the market. Now, pretty interesting chart that we're setting up here right now. Nvidia is consolidating. It's definitely consolidating. But like I said yesterday, we had an inside day candle. We broke above the high. Like I also mentioned, if we break above the high, we most likely head back up to somewhere closer to the 145s. We did exactly that, went up to 144.2. And I mean, that's pretty close in my opinion, right? So that was a pretty good trade if you took it or not. I personally didn't. There was other things I was paying attention to. But nonetheless, pretty good trade. Now, it obviously sold off pretty much the rest of the day and just pretty much bled down the rest of the day, right? What does this mean moving forward, right? Is this a bad sign or is this a good sign? Is Nvidia finally bearish or what's going on? Well, this is the way I look at it. I wouldn't say Nvidia is bearish, right? I definitely wouldn't say it's just straight up bearish. But it's hard for me to look at this and say it's straight up bullish as well. Why? Because it's having issues. Once again, it pretty much came up to the top of this, closer to that 145 range again, which I mentioned before. That's, it likes to move in those $5 increments, and it's finding a rejection once again, right? This is not ideal. Like Nvidia wants to be breaking above 145 and ideally closing above 145 if it wants to see any chance of going up to 150, right? On top of that, we also have this very steep trend line that we most likely will be opening probably at or under the trend line come Monday, especially if there's any form of gap down. So watch for that moving forward as well. But the main things I'm looking at is the fact that my indicators are definitely starting to soften. Like I said, the VX trender is still making lower lows. We're green today, and this is still making lower lows. The red band is there. So, that's not giving me any confidence. Now, can this be a false indicator? Can it, just be simply wrong? Absolutely. But as it stands right now, I don't see why I would take the risk on that, right? It doesn't look appealing to me, the risk right now, based on this closure as well. Personally, we have, of course, the stochastic very damn close to crossing to the bearish side. So you want to definitely, keep your eyes out on that one as well. And then, of course, we also have the RSI, which is almost like flagging a little bit here. But the point is the fact that it is making a bearish divergence. Like I said many times, as it's making higher highs on the stock, the RSI is obviously making lower highs pretty consistently. So that's a bearish divergence. So ultimately, the stock is just ultimately telling me that, the bullish momentum, it's weakening. All it is, right? It's simply weakening. The bullish momentum is definitely slowing down. Not necessarily saying that the bearish momentum is here just yet at all, but just how much more does this have room to the upside, right? You can see it doesn't feel as parabolic anymore. It's definitely slowing down, and it's almost like the stock itself is starting to finally curl. I guess here we were very parabolic, and now we're kind of slowly curling, right? We're slowly, not showing that same momentum that we did before. You can argue that, same thing could have happened over here, but we obviously had this nice massive candle. So essentially Nvidia would pretty much right around here need to have a nice massive candle, which today actually could have been that candle. It easily could have been that candle, but we ended up pretty much just bleeding the rest, the majority of the day after that initial morning push up, which is not giving me confidence that this, can lead into something that, essentially happened with this candle back here, right? So again, I just look at this chart and again, I don't necessarily see straight up bearish momentum or anything like that. I don't think the chart is necessarily just straight up bearish, but it is losing bullish momentum, and that to me signals that that can lead into that bearish momentum, and signals essentially starting to finally show up as well. And I honestly, at the moment, just if I were to guess, I do expect that to start happening relatively soon. Get a bit of a sell-off, but again, with AMD earnings on Wednesday, it could potentially save it. I actually think AMD chart doesn't look that bad. I wouldn't say it's crazy bullish or anything like that, but I think AMD chart actually has potential. For instance, especially if you go on the 1 hour chart, obviously remove extended hours, and you bring out the market bias on Nvidia or AMD, a lot of red. You can see it kept getting rejected by the red until ultimately it finally broke out, and now it's kind of potentially getting support by the market bias. And also, you know, we are potentially on AMD forming a potential inverted head and shoulders pattern here as well, which again, you know, if AMD maybe has a good earnings, or AMD actually, you know, moves up from this pattern, you know, that can potentially affect Nvidia, but I wouldn't fully rely on it. Why? Because, well, AMD has been selling off for the past, you know, what is this, 2 weeks or so? Well, Nvidia has pretty much been rocketing for the past 2 weeks or so. So again, you know, maybe the correlation isn't as close as I thought it would be, to be completely honest. So just because AMD going up, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to equate to Nvidia going up. So I don't know why I even brought that up, I'll be completely honest. Ignore everything I just said for the last minute. But nonetheless, again, looking just strictly at Nvidia, if we finally get the bearish confirmation, if we finally get that correction, if we finally start getting that move down, my main ultimate target will, like I said before, and I'll continue saying, around the mid-ish 120s, because, well, that's essentially where the market bias that I have is going to be as major support. That's where this red trend line roughly is going to be as well. And I personally would get very interested in Nvidia at those levels if it does come down to those levels at any point in time, whether it takes a day, a week, or a month. That is my current range that I would be very happy to buy, maybe even starting in the low-ish 130s. You know, could be a pretty decent option as well. But as of right now, and as it stands up here, I'm not interested. Still not interested. Haven't been interested for the last week or two, despite it, you know, pushing up a little bit higher, of course, because again, I feel like at this point, you know, it's a very crowded trade, and you're essentially pretty much just chasing, in my opinion. Again, that's just my opinion. Take it as you will, of course. But ladies and gentlemen, that's kind of all I have for you. Let's go over to the options chain very quickly. Let's see how the bulls and the bears are doing today on Nvidia. And taking a quick look at it, you can see options flow was a little bit slower on Nvidia today. I'm not going to lie, but the bulls definitely stepped in ultimately overall, in my opinion, at least the cheddar flow throughout the day. But looking at black box for the confirmed, you can see Nvidia actually is more confirmed closed slash, I guess, if you will, still open bearish flow for the day, about 13 million. So yeah, again, just, you know, watch for this trend line. Once this trend line breaks, and once Nvidia, you know, more visibly takes this trend line and turns it into a resistance, that's where things, in my opinion, can start finally with that bleed back down for Nvidia. So watch for those levels. Take a very quick look at the 1 hour candle as well. See if 1 hour gives us any maybe earlier or quicker indications. And, you know, 1 hour is not looking too bad, right? The market bias is still, you can see as support, but the BX trender is, of course, now curling down once again. Let's see what happens the last time this happened. And the last time this happened, and, you know, it started curling down and the red band came out, and BX trender went all the way to the bottom. Nvidia went from about 143 all the way down to about 137. So, you know, we could easily get a push down to about, honestly, 135 before we get obviously some bounce. I doubt Nvidia will just crash straight to my 125, let's just say, target that I would love to buy at. That would be too easy. So, you know, if we do come down, you could come down around here, maybe get a bounce, and then maybe make our way finally lower, something like that. You know what I mean? So just watch for these kind of situations to unfold. But again, the main thing you'd want to be looking for, again, is that trend line break on the daily candle, which I will actually go ahead and set to current interval only, go on the 1 hour. And I'll actually do the exact same thing here. But instead, I will do something like this, right? So you can kind of watch for this kind of trend line on Nvidia as well on the 1 hour, right? You can easily draw this yourself and just watch for something around this general vicinity for this trend line and see if it continues to hold, or if it finally loses it, maybe Monday. But anyway, that's all I got for you. Thanks so much for watching. And as usual, see you tomorrow. Peace.